Good morning. Negative video. There was this person that I got to know, and I realized that they felt bad about things that they did and or wanted to do or had done. And during the times where they were doing these things that they felt guilty about, they really trash talked their significant other, and not in just like in just like in a negative way, like so and so is a bad person. Not like so and so and I are like trying to figure out different ways to balance a work home life, or like there's issues coming up and we're working on solutions. They're just like that person sucks. But those things that would pop up as like a deflecting mechanism to say like I'm doing bad things and I feel guilty about it, and I want it to not be my fault. I want it to be someone else's fault. And when I realized that, watching it from this person's perspective, I suddenly realized that like I've seen that a lot in my life, in my own life. That see, the thing is like you don't know it. Like if your significant other is trash talking you because they're doing something that they're like cheating or something like that, and so they trash talk you constantly to all their friends and your friends, because they are starting to see what's going on, and you're completely clueless because when you're with them, they're like happy as a clam and eager to please. Sometimes even more eager to please when they're feeling super guilty, and then even more likely to trash talk you to your community. Um, yeah, I just suddenly saw, I'm like, yeah, now, because like that's the thing is too, is like when everything's said and done, like you learn a lot of what was happening in your own life that you didn't know during the time you were living it. And you're like, oh geez, that makes so much sense now. Like, I kind of thought something was up, like, this the times when they're not around, and um, when you see them places you weren't expecting, and they start dressing differently or doing their makeup differently, and it coincides with your friend saying like, "Oh man, you guys not doing good?" I'm like, "No, we're doing great." I'm like, well, have you talked about your relationship lately? I'm like, "No, maybe I should." Like, "Hey, honey, how are we doing?" "Oh, we're doing great." I'm like, "Really?" "Yeah, we're totally doing great." I'm like, "You don't have any issues?" She's like, "No, I've never had a boyfriend where like there's just no problems. You're all about solutions." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let me know if there is anything." And then later you find out, there was stuff going on, and she didn't want to know. She didn't want you to know because oh, I think though from now on, I mean, my life is so much different now. But like, if I ever hear someone trash talking their significant other again, the first thing I'm going to ask is like, what are you doing wrong? What are you doing that's making you feel so guilty that the person that you live with, the person that you say you love, um, you're just talking. You're just saying that they're a bad person. You're not saying like they don't take out the trash when they're supposed to. You're like, so and so sucks. It's like, yeah, so, well, then what are you doing, that makes you feel so guilty that you want to say so and so sucks? Because so and so doesn't suck. If so and so sucked, that conversation would actually be like, man, we've been trying to work through problems. We're not finding any solutions. We tried to go into counseling. The counselor is like, maybe you guys should consider a separation. There's something wrong with that person. That's something there's wrong with the relationship. But if you say like, Joe is a jerk or Sally's a bitch, it's like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing that makes you want to call Sally that? What are you guilty about? I thought about that. I thought this suddenly came through to me yesterday, and man, I had a bad day because like I kept remembering all these different things, and then like sometimes you don't put together things people say to you, hints people give, and uh, and then after things are over, like you're more concerned with like I just need to move on, and like people kind of want to have a debriefing with you, like, hey, we kind of all saw what was going on, and we tried to talk to you about it, but like the kind of thing you're just like, what, I just need to focus on, starting my new life. And then when it's all said and done, you suddenly go back over it and go like, oh my God, like that person, like people will have so much information, like your very significant other will have so much information about what's going on in your life, and not say it, but they know it. And then the words coming out of their mouth when they're talking to you are so hypocritical, and they must know it. And the thing is, like, you won't, like, you're listening to them, taking them seriously, and um, listening to their concerns and looking for mutual concessions and solutions, or what you could do to just make things better. And all the while, they know what the actual problem is, and it's not what they're bringing to you. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's upsetting.